The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and white.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savedich, and today we're going to be talking about the series sweep loss to the Winnipeg Goldeyes. And did it hurt the RailCats' playoff chances? A new face, some faces leaving, my thoughts and impressions of my number one fans on Friday night, which I had an absolute fun time with, and things I want to plan to do with you guys if you're listening, you know you probably are, and what I want to do with other people as well when I get the opportunity. Maybe a little bit of my crazy weekend that I had. Just kind of want to get into this at least the last game. Like I said, I didn't really get to watch the only game I got to watch out of this series was the Friday night game loss. Outside of that, I had to work all weekend, and I had to work when the RailCats were playing, so it's not like I could watch them. I listened a little bit earlier. I think the first 4 innings I got to listen to, so I kind of got the meat of it a little bit. But I did miss. Yeah, I missed all the runs that Winnipeg scored. I actually only listened probably the first, second, third, and through that, and then I had to stop. I had to do other stuff with my job. What I was doing at the moment allowed me to do it, but then from there I couldn't. Just kind of. It just seemed like the RailCats their offense is just kind of, you hit that very big gap of scoring a crap ton of runs against the Railroaders, and then it kind of sputtered out. It just seemed, like this RailCat team just got beat by a better team, and I'm not saying that Winnipeg's not a better team. I mean, their record's 35 and 27, so they have a winning record. They've beaten teams they should have, and they've probably competed in games and won games that are always up in the air. I mean, they're in a tougher division, I would say, with having Kansas City and having Fargo-Moorhead. So, they're in a very tough battle there on the West. I think the West is starting to show a little bit of its prowess of maybe being the potential better division. May not have the better team, maybe not have the best team in the league, but just the better competition-wise as far as that. Realistically, yes, you got the Milkmen, and King County, but I mean, Chicago is your number one. That's probably going to be the one that's going to clinch on the East. They're the top dogs, pun intended, on that aspect of it. They're just going to be a very tough team to face in general. And, I think the RailCats kind of have to look and thank the Chicago Dogs for sweeping the Cleburne Railroaders, because they're back exactly where they were 3 days ago, just a game and a half back of the Railroaders, and now you're going to be embark on a 6-game road trip, going on the longest road trip of the year, because I'm pretty sure they go to Cleburne. They go to Cleburne for six games. I hate when it does this. I just want the individual teams, and it just gives me the whole league, which doesn't make any sense. But then they go to Lincoln Salt Dogs after that, to face a 3-game series there at Haymark Park. That's going to be a big testament to the RailCats, what they're going to do over these next 9 games. I would like to see them potentially go 6-3 or 5-4, around that part of it. I would like to see them take 4 of 6 against the Railroaders, because that would put them in a very good position. I mean, you'd be a couple games up over that. You just win 2 games. You'll just flip the script, basically. You'll be a game and a half up versus just being, if you lose a lot of those, we don't know where you're going to be at this point. I guess the worst case scenario is that you'll be 7.5 games behind them. And that I don't think after that the RailCats going to be able to catch that. And that kind of leads into my next little point here. you're seeing a lot of roster moves with the RailCats, and I understand, as someone that is not attaching themselves to players, which I'm trying not to do. It's, as someone that enjoys and is a fan of the RailCats and enjoy to watch every single player that goes out there, no matter good, bad, worst, the best, you always want them. Like I said in the very first second podcast that I talked about, when I kind of talked about the team in general, I said that you want every player with the RailCats to get their contracts purchased. Every person that comes through. I am not saying that I sometimes, I know it's weird to say, but sometimes as a sports fan, you kind of, once you have you have a team, you have a favorite team that you're rooting for, and sometimes they bring in a player which you're kind of not fond of, and you're not necessarily, it's easier for you to talk bad about a player when they do bad, but don't say anything when they do good. 'Cause, you get that with that. You get that with just being like a professional team, because sometimes they're there for a handful of years, whatever the case may be. You kind of get that feel for it. They trade another player, and I get that. With the RailCats, like I said, it's a beautiful thing that this league is, because you get to see a lot of this rotation sometimes. Sometimes a player gets picked up and he goes to a different team, and the next person you bring in could either be worse, could be better. There's always a lot of fluctuations within the league, and I know that some players that have been with a certain team for a long time, you start to fall in love with those players because they're with that team so long, and you get those moving pieces all over the place. But what you're seeing now with the RailCats, especially with the American Association pushing it from 2 teams to 4 teams, is that teams that are on the brink of making the playoffs are going to be the ones that are going to be adjusting their rosters a lot, because you are trying to win to get to a playoff spot. At this point, I think if the RailCats were, I think at the All-Star break, I think the RailCats would have been perfectly fine with all the roster moves they made, right? I think they were finding a nice mixture of hitting, nice mixture of defense, pitching was, I think they were finding, if this would be the case, we probably wouldn't be talking them making the playoffs. We'd be having a different conversation. But with that 4 games, or the 4 teams expansion, when you're a game and a half back, you're at win at all costs. So I'm taking this as, there's after today's game, there's 37 games left, all right? And it's crazy to think that there's 37 games left. And that's the crazy thing about having the All-Star break, is because it's at halfway point, you get a handful more games to do, and just turn around, and you're like, oh, we're on a push here. So 38, games left. That's basically like trade deadline time, Now, if you scale it down a little bit, because if you realistically look at it, the MLB just had their All-Star break, and coming here the 31st, or I think it's August 2nd they pushed it to, or August 5th, I don't remember which, but it's a trade deadline. So at the trade deadline, you're going to have people pushing to either they're going to sell the team, or they're going to trade for value. And it's a little different in this league. You can't do that. What they're doing, though, is taking the players that may be a fan favorite, but this is a whole new regime, and you've seen it, right? You had Ray Jones, especially KB Edwards was a good one. MJ Rooker, I think, was a big one as well. And now Alec Oled, those were all fan favorites. Everyone knew who they were. They liked them. And now Robbie Corcel, and I know that I was throwing a bit of you would, I guess you can call it shade, but I really wasn't, as far as the point of, I never wanted the guy to fail. I wanted him to succeed. I wanted him to build that confidence. And that's why I wanted to talk about him in the way he was presenting himself to me. and to the RailCats organization, how things were lining up. To me, if I was in a managerial role, this is how I would use him, right? And it's not that I'm not saying the guy is not a terrible guy. He seems like a very nice guy, and I haven't really been able to interact with the players. Realistically, the only player I really talked to was Harrison Francis, right? He was the only one, and that was at Off Square Brewery, and it was still, I was trying in the the new realm of things. I mean, I talked to Lamar Rogers, I talked with Guy St. Jim, I talked with Daryl Robinson. Like I talked with them for a little bit, but it was a more of a less. I was just trying to get a feel for everything right away, and I guess I'm not to that point of being confident enough to stick around the ballpark and have a conversation with the players. Because the majority of the time I'm with my fiance, so I don't feel. I feel like I'm obligated to stay with her and keep her happy as via if I was out by myself, and I was hoping to do that August 5th because that was her bachelorette party, but I have to close those nights, so I can't go. And I was like, dang, it was an opportunity for me to actually just get to fully embrace. Now, it's not not the first time I fully embraced a RailCats game. Now, I went to the was the school day one with a bunch of boatload of kids. That's different. I didn't get the actual fans, if I would make sense. The people that are gonna actually pay the tickets and go see the game, sit down there and enjoy. Like my fans, right? Want to see you guys. That's the whole point of going. I like to see people. I get to entertain. That's why, I was. I guess I'll get in that portion of that when I talk a little bit about my weekend. But what I'm getting to is when I look at the stats, I look at the players, I look at every little minor detail that goes on. I'm looking at it as far as what has this player produced for me. I take the emotional side of it. I take the I take that side of it and I leave it off. And I know I follow a lot of players on Twitter, and that's why I never post anything on Twitter that per se is negative towards a player. Now, I know that on Friday night, I said that Nate Scanlon shouldn't be playing center field because he doesn't have an arm for it. He doesn't. There's no way that a center fielder should back up 3 steps, a guy run halfway to third, stop, turn around, tag, and make it to third, and you throw it on a 1 bounce to the cutoff guy, right? But that's what he's presenting to me. I'm not saying that Nate Scanlon is not a terrible guy. He's been very good offensively. There's pros and cons, but there's just some things that a player shouldn't be in a situation. And I just think that's one of those. But yet again, where are you going to play everyone? That's the issue I think is going on right now. I think a lot of players are playing in positions that they're not comfortable with. I mean, you have 5 million one infielders, and really you have 2 technical realistically you only have 2 technical outfielders. Jesus Mariaga is the main one. When I look at their roster, I guess it doesn't so the outfielders, so right now the outfielders are LG Castillo, Jonathan Engelman, and Jesus Mariaga. But on Friday, we saw Engelman play first. So is he really a first baseman? Is he an outfielder? You see Nova out there. You see Scanlon is an infielder. But yet again, where are you going to put all these players in the infield? I mean, your middle's basically locked up. Your third base has kind of been rotating around. I think that's the biggest issue that I'm seeing. They've thrown all these people into a mixing pot and trying to play them, and you don't see the best defensive abilities from them. Now, are they hoping that their scoring can outlast the defense portion of it? It really hasn't shown, especially there with the Railroaders games. You had a handful of errors, misplays, miscues, especially the stealing, which was unreal. I mean, that's if someone's going to steal that much, it's hard for me to really base that on the catcher sometimes. I know Greeley has thrown out a handful of players already, so maybe you'll see him maybe a little bit more in that catching role than Jackson Smith is. But yet again, Jackson Smith has hit the ball, but I don't know where Lamar Rogers' mindset is on on the catching role of things, because I really thought that with Cruz there, Smith was a lot better than Cruz defensively and was able to hit the ball. I mean, he stayed in the 220s, right? You know, I think he's at 245-ish range in the average. You know, he stayed there, and then Cruz kind of fluctuated, and his defense really wasn't the best. So, like I said, I don't know what the deal is with that aspect of it. But what I just want to clear the air that I don't want people to assume that I wish that a player gets released or I wish a player gets put in a scenario. This is just what I see, right? And my opinions aren't always right. And I would rather a player prove me wrong than prove me right, right? You know what I'm saying? I would, and when games are on the line, things get frustrating. I guess why it's amplified even more. Like I said, if this team was just can't win a series realistically to save our lives right now at the moment. But I mean, if they were bottom barrel of the team, yeah, you can kind of talk about it, but you can kind of blame the rest of the team for not doing it. But when your offense is scoring 11 runs and your pitching gives up 12 runs, like there's an issue. You know, that it's just not you're gonna magnify the issue, and you're gonna look at the stats a little bit more, and you're gonna see, you know, what my opinion is and on everything else along the lines of that. This Winnipeg series, yes, was it big? It could have. It was a huge series before the big series, right? Like it was. You had the huge this series, like we can get a couple games here and then we win a couple games here and they lose a couple games there. Like we're in a better situation, right? Well, neither team won on either side of their series, and not even a game in their series. And now you're at this big, huge. You know, this next series is deciding what's going to happen in the playoffs. If the RailCats come through and they win all 6, they're going to put themselves on a very nice little pedestal. And I think you'll start to see, you know, maybe some changes, maybe in the bullpen a little bit, maybe starting pitching. I don't really know if you're going to touch starting pitching that much right now. I think at this point they need to just solidify the starting pitching and just let that be and have everyone else just play. You know what I'm saying? I would rather that happen and then you kind of rotate there. I think you may find them go out and try to, you know, they got another Julio Visa, is a new guy that the RailCats picked up. It's not confirmed yet. I may have some stats on him. I know he pitched tonight or today. He struck out 2, walked 3. So maybe walking a bit, accuracy may be a little bit an issue. We'll see on that aspect of it. But going on from the series, yeah, we all kind of know how it is, and you know, maybe just got beat by a better team at this point. And there's nothing that I can really bitch, grope, complain about because it's something that we've seen. That sometimes it just bites you in the butt. I mean, I thought Harrison Francis pitched a very good game today. I mean, he gave up 3 runs, and then Vista came in and Medea came in and he pitched very well. They shut down. So I mean, okay, and then the offense didn't help you in that. So it's just you can put the blame wherever you want to put the blame. The pitching was not an issue. Like it's been majority of the years. I know last series was kind of a bit of the pitching issue, but not really much in this series. You know, it is what it is. But then going to Friday night, you know, I get to, you know, sit down, meet my fans, you know, that's, you know, I sit there and I think about it, and that's why I said it numerous times with them that I do thank you guys. I do listen. I do thank everyone that does listen to this because it's a hobby of mine. It gets me away from the real world for a little bit. You know, I went to school for this kind of stuff and I wanted to do it, and COVID hit and it kind of sucks, but you know, sometimes bad things happen. You just have to overcome and adapt it, and that's why I'm doing this as a side hobby. It's a hobby of mine. It, you know, I could be sitting here and talking to 3 people the rest of the time I'm doing this and be perfectly content with doing that, you know, or I could be listening, or 5,000 people could be listening to it, and I can see 5,000 people when I go to the game, you know, that kind of stuff. The people matter to me the most. That, you know, it's what the people are what I'm trying to get to, and trying to get everyone to come together, to go to the games, see each other, know that there is a platform where the people of the RailCats can go and have conversations about the RailCats, and not just be on the Facebook page of the home of the RailCats, homepage, fan page, whatever you want to say, and throw their shade at the RailCats there, because that doesn't help anyone. Throwing them at their organization, it doesn't help, right? That just brings negativity. You want more of the positivity, because realistically what they're trying to do is get people in the stadium, and when people are always negative all the time on those kind of platforms, it's hard to bring the teams in, bring people in to care about the team and that kind of stuff. That's why I like having this platform, because I know the fans that positive, negative, in the middle can all come and have a conversation with it, and be a conversation and not just a spew of hate toward everything and anybody that that you see majority of the time on MLB fan pages, NHL, NFL, and you get that all the time. But this it was a great experience. See the people that are behind the keyboard. They get to see me. They get to see my personality outside of me doing this. That kind of stuff. It's always a fun thing to do, and that leads me to my next fun little adventure of the weekend. Was last night. We had the really bad storms on Friday night. They pushed into early Saturday morning, and me and my fiance woke up to the thunder, and she went to use the bathroom, and she comes running into the bedroom and saying there's something wrong. And I said, oh, what's wrong? So I go out there, and we have a little sunroom, and in between our back of our sunroom and our shed, there's a huge pine tree laying down there. So that was interesting, because it destroyed our fence, and we had the dog. So insurance, that kind of stuff. Nothing happened to the house, so everything's good on that aspect of it. Probably have to get a new shed, but that's beside the point of a new fence. But with me having to go to work later that afternoon, and her family was coming to help try to put up the fence, because we couldn't really touch the pine tree because of insurance purposes, so we had to wait till a professional came out and got it. They didn't have that opportunity until today, because they had higher priority somewhere else, because with trees actually on houses, that kind of stuff. So moving forward, I had to drop my dogs off at my parents' house, because they live closer than her parents do, and they have backyard, and that they take care of the dogs, blah blah blah. My fiance was talking about Friday night on how I had my fans out there, and they were screaming my name and this and that, and my mom was like, oh, that's cute, blah blah blah, and this and that, and they asked, like, a media pass kind of deal. And I said, I probably won't get one, just on the aspect of majority of the time, you have to be a well-established organization, or the team reaches out, that kind of stuff. And yeah, would that be nice? Maybe sit up in the press box, get the game up there, watch it from a higher view, because there was one time I went to Indiana State football, and if you've never had a chance to go down to Lucas Oil and watch Indiana State football, yes, it's the day after Thanksgiving, it's still a very good experience. But anyways, I had a media pass to go up to the press box, and going to the press box, you see it at a whole different view, right? Especially being that high up, you just to see everything. So yes, would it be nice to go to the steel yard and go up, top there, and maybe get some field access, be able to talk to players? Yes, would that be nice? But I could go out of my way and do it, sometime eventually. But yet again, I'd like to be down with the fans, hear the surroundings going on, and cheer when something good happens, or boo when something negative happens, and just get the feel for the stadium. And I like the mixture of that, and kind of being a little bit of a ghost, if that makes sense. Obviously now I put my face out there, so majority of the people, if they watch this, they already know who I am, and they see my face, they'll recognize me. But it's just one of those that I don't want to, I like to take it from a fan perspective. And yes, maybe eventually, once I get, we've been through the wedding and everything like that, so it's just very hard for me to get out to certain kind of games and do stuff like that. So maybe next year try to convince her to do different things. You know, maybe get a season pass kind of deal, or maybe get some tickets for, you know, actually seats, kind of a season ticket holder, that kind of stuff. But that stuff's fun to me. Not being able to just, you know, yeah, it'd be nice to walk in for free, and you don't get the same experience, right? You don't get that feel. You don't, you know, I want to support the team at the same time as being in a different kind of, you know, in the media realm, that kind of stuff. But going on, you know, for the RRCC, which I'm pretty sure is the Rowdy RailCats Cowboy Crowd, something along the lines like that. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but that's what I got. That's what I'm trying to get from. Was I remember the cowbells, because y'all have cowbells, and if you don't know, you'll know if you go to a RailCats game. You'll hear the cowbells going, and they got them going, and it's great. It's always a fun experience, and but that's the thing, is you don't get being up in the press. I mean, you could get it up being up there, but like you just don't get that interaction. But like I was saying, I've been thinking about it ever since you guys have really, yes, I'm talking to them because they're the ones that listen. If you're outside of that, you know, but still, that is a staple. Because not the last game I went, not Friday night, but the last couple Fridays ago, when they were doing the in-between inning entertainment, and they had the questionnaire up there, and the guy kept saying to the cowbell fans there, you know, what is the Rowdy Cowboy, you know, cowbells, you know, what's the answer? That is stuff that I would like to sit down and be able to have a conversation. Where did that come from? You know, were you guys friends before? You know, these are just certain kind of questions. I would like to have a questionnaire and have them be able to give me their answers. And now I may not be able to do it video wise. Just one, privacy of them. Two, it'd be hard for me to, you know, it's easier for me to put my phone, you know, up to their mouth than it is for me to try to take a video where the audio quality won't be the best. But like I said, that kind of stuff, because that is what, you know, a lot of people say, well, it's got to be the product and the food that brings me in. It's really, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. You know, I'll tell you a little story, that growing up, my parents were Cubs fans, right? And this was probably, it was after the World Series. I want to say it was about 2007. And I was still pretty young at that time. I guess I would have been around 11-ish. And it was my first time going to, at the time it was US Cellular. And I was sitting out there in right field, but now the seats are no longer there because at the Grey Goose Island, the Goose Islands hub out there now. But I had two White Sox fans in front of me, completely plastered out of their minds. And I don't remember the score of the game. I hardly ever remember the game. But all I remember is those guys sitting in front of me saying, oh, this is where Paul Konerko hit the grand slam. You see the blue chair out there. This is where this person hit this home run. This is where the catch was. You know, all of this fun stuff. And he was saying, you know, this seat a couple weeks ago, the guy hit a home run here. That is, fans are what bring you. I'm going to say, sometimes it's the product on the field that brings you to the game. But what sucks you in is the fan base. If they are fun to be around, if they're rowdy, if they're having fun, and they know you're having fun and everyone else is having fun with it, it's easier to go to those games and know this is what to expect, because fans are going to be more of a staple. True fans are going to be more of a staple to a franchise than players are, because fans can be fans for their entire lives. Players, especially in this league, maybe 3 years tops. You know, it could be a couple games. But the fans, when you go, the fans are what makes games going to worth it. You don't get that feel on a TV. When you go to the stadium and you have the season ticket holders, you have the people that watch the games all the time, you can have those conversations because those fans are there for a reason and you're there for the same reason. And that's where friendship grows and that kind of stuff. So it's always entertaining. Yes, it's what player does this, what player does that, but realistically it's the fans that bring everyone and puts butts in the seats, right? And if you disagree with me on that one, go right ahead and say you disagree. But that's what I get from it. You know, being a huge Blackhawks fan, going to the game, listening to the national anthem, listening to the fathers talk to their sons about what happened in these games when they went, the history, yes, the product on the ice at the time, well, right now it might not be the best, but when teams are struggling, that's where the fans have to come into play, right? And when the fans come into play and they talk about, different things like that, or what happened at this year, it keeps people engaged and locked in, and knowing that there's always a greener side to, a greener side to everything, or a brighter side, or always green on the other side, whatever, however you want to put it. I'm bad with saying sometimes, and memory loss. It's a terrible thing to have at the age of 26, but what are you going to do? But yeah, that's kind of things that, yes, having player interviews are cool and everything, but I can make a player interview and they get released the next day. But if I interview a fan that's been going to games for how many years and they're a staple, that's what, I hope you guys understand that you guys are a staple of the RailCats fan base. It's dedication, and when you go to the game, you expect to see those fans there, and it's always a staple, and it's a beautiful thing, and that's why I guess I like going to RailCats games as much as I do. I haven't. I guess take it back. I've gone to one White Sox game this year, but that wasn't on my own dime. That was just because of the bachelor party, and realistically, the funny thing was they were deciding on whether or not to do a RailCats game or that game. What they wanted to do was more expensive with the RailCats, but that was like the whole the press box, free drinks and up to the fifth inning, that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't take away what the experience I had in Chicago, because we were able to go into Chicago after the game and enjoying the things that you really wouldn't have gotten going to the RailCats. That's not a knock on the RailCats, just that's where you're located at. But like I said, if you go to the game, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. If you're listening to this the first time or multiple times, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And great people, absolutely nice people, and especially I would love to get the All-Star experience as well, because I know that you said that the game was probably one of the best games you've ever went to for an All-Star break. And that's just things that eventually, hopefully, I'll get into. But here nor there on that kind of stuff. But yeah, this podcast was, I guess, it was just a little bit of more of what the teams kind of do, what I'm kind of expecting, why I say some things I do, and it's not ending the matter of I hate a player, I don't want to see your player go. It's just that I guess I'm not trying to emotionally attach myself to a player, because realistically, I know that change is always happening in a way that the way the season has gone, no one on the roster is really safe, and you really have to battle for a position to stay there, and and it's nice to see, but it's just, I guess it's kind of hard when the team really has been struggling. It's only been a handful of series that they've actually won, but like I said, this is a big series coming up. Just kind of ideas that I want to do. I'm hoping to get out to at least another 2 or 3 games this year. But that might be a little hard, especially with trying to pay for a wedding and having to blow our savings account on getting a tree broom moved. Kind of weird to say, but just insurance stuff like that. It's just everything's up to the nitty gritty. And then me working odd hours, like I got a handful of weird shifts from like 6 p.m. to 4 p.m., that kind of stuff. So I won't really get to watch a lot, but I'm hoping in those time periods that I'll be able to come home and rewatch the games and be able to have a comment on some things. I'll try to pick up more podcasts along the way. Try to get that out when I can, and hopefully things will be talking a little bit better, because it was, don't get me wrong, when the RailCats were on that big long 6-7 game winning streak, and I was having a podcast every single day, like that was the best time that I had with grabbing fans in, because it, the more I do and the more they win, the better off I'm going to be, and the RailCats going to be in general. But you know, sometimes I would rather start it at the point of where the team may not be the best and build a fan base that way, because that way I know the people are here because they watch the RailCats and they enjoy going to RailCats games and they enjoy just watching the purest, almost purest form of baseball. I still think the purest form of baseball is in high school. I think that with mostly any sport, or maybe college, high school, around that area there, I think that's the purest form. Maybe college more than high school, because college players are 1% of high school players that make it to college, that especially Division One. But that's why they call it the best of the best in the major leagues and so on and so forth, because you're taking the 1% of the 1% and putting them out in the field. So, like I said, any professional sport that you're in, it's going to be hard to maintain being good. It's hard when you're facing other players that are as or better than you are. There's not a lot of times that when you get into these leagues that the players are so much not saying that they're less than you, or, you know, they're just, some players are just a lot more dominant than other players, but they're still all professionals to a certain extent. But I appreciate if you stuck around for 36 minutes of this podcast. I enjoy making these podcasts. I enjoy talking about the RailCats, and I enjoy you guys the most, the fans that listen to this, that make me look at my Facebook feed, to make me look at my YouTube comments. You know, like I said, if you got something you want to say, you know, on a post, tag me in something, or, you know, whatever the case may be, don't be afraid. I'll comment back. You know, a positive, negative, constructive criticism is always the best way to improve things. So if there's something that you want to see differently, I can try and do. If there's something you just absolutely hate, that you don't like, I can try to redo it, or whatever the case may be. If you think my opinion's wrong, tell me my opinion's wrong. But just don't say my opinion's wrong because you just think it's wrong. Just give me a reason why you think my opinion's wrong, and I'll probably look at it and say, yeah, you know, you're probably right, or I'm going to go this way. But nor here nor there. If you like the podcast, the video today, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter at RailCats Talk. This is obvious on YouTube, so subscribe, hit the bell, notifications on, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're listening to this, and go Cats.